Hi, Mehdi Saifi here from Saifi International Real Estate Team. Today I'm going to be going over some questions that clients and homeowners, home buyers have sent me. Sorry, I'm getting messages coming through as we're speaking. I apologize for that. Now, Anna has asked, what are my legal rights on the home that we live in? I guess what she's referring to is what we define as matrimonial home. Matrimonial home is the home or the residence that a couple, two partners, wife and husband, that they have been living in there, and they call that their main residence or a matrimonial home. Now, one of the concerns, the issues usually is that if the house is on in my husband's name, doesn't mean that I have no rights to that property or vice versa. Now the answer is yes, you do. When you have what we call a matrimonial home, definitely either side of the partners have equal rights to that property. Please confirm that with your legal counsel, but that's how it is. But make sure that you get legal advice on that to make sure of that. Now, next question is Ali is asking, do we have to pay taxes on our home profits when we sell? Ali, thank you for your question. No, you don't need to. In Canada, we don't pay profits that we gain on our primary residence. Now, if you have a second house, third house, and so on, yes, you do. Capital gain would apply to that, and you do have to pay taxes depending on your conditions, circumstances, etc., etc. But on your primary home, no, you don't need to. You sell that, you move on to the next house out, and you're good. But again, check with your legal counsel and accountant to make sure of that. Let me just, before I go to next question, let me state that I'm not providing anyone with legal advice, and this is only based on my experience as a real estate broker for over 30 years. But please, for further assurance and accuracy, do check with your legal counsel and your accountant if needed. Now, Angela is asking, what exactly is spousal consent in an offer? What she's referring to is a clause in your agreement of purchase and sale that it is called spousal consent. Now, those of you who have bought and sold houses in the past, you know that when it gets to that specific clause, either side, if the property is in the husband's name or the wife's name, the other one has to sign as a spouse to consent and permitting the sale of this property. That is because of the earlier question where Anna had asked what my legal rights are. Now, this has become a more serious issue in the last few years because of the technology, because of all these fancy photocopiers, documents that people can use to deceive the system. This is why, by the way, when you go to your lawyer, even though he or she may know you for 20 years, they still ask you for your driver's license, and they need to ID you before you sign any of the documents. There's stories that this guy, he took his girlfriend to a lawyer and pretended that that was his wife, and they signed the document, they sold the property, and they took off somewhere in a no man's land, and they basically took the money, whatever the monies were available after selling it, all the proceeds, and the spouse was basically left with nothing. So spousal consent is needed to make sure that the partner, wife or husband, they are aware of what's going on and they're involved with the negotiation. Now, Jeff is asking, how much down payment do I need to buy a house? Well, Jeff, basically 25% is considered to be a safe ground, and in most cases you could get qualified with a 25%, qualified for a mortgage, of course, with a 25% down payment. But that all depends on your credit, that all depends on your status, it depends on your job situation, it depends on how much you're borrowing, if you have the power to make the payments on a monthly basis. So the general idea is 25%, but you need to check with your specific conditions and circumstances. Baram, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, is asking, what's your view of the market based on today's conditions? Well, Baram, no one can really tell you that. There is a big split between those that they feel that the market is going to crash and be at its knees, and there are those that they believe that no, this is a temporary thing and we're going to get over it, like we have in the last few times. Like I personally, during my career, I've seen 4 recessions, 4 similar situations to this. I remember in the late 80s, the market crashed by like 35% suddenly. Like, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. People were losing their shirt over selling their homes. So no one really knows the answer. What everyone is doing based on their experience and calculating the facts, they come up with a conclusion. Usually based on my experience dealing with many clients, those that they have cash in hand, they're the ones that usually talk about market is a disaster, market is going to fail, market is going to this, that, whatever else. And I think the reason for that is they're just preparing the grounds to a better situation for themselves because they have cash in hand, that they can buy more properties at lower or reduced prices. But as a last comment, the question that you asked, it takes a lot of discussion to come up with even a close answer to that. But overall, if it makes you feel any better, let me tell you this, that in the last 40 years, on the average, the real estate market in Toronto has gone up between 5 to 6%. Now, I understand that sometimes you've had reduction in prices, even, like I said, 30%, 20%, but it has recovered itself. So the average increase on home prices have been 5 to 6% for the last 40 years. Another reason for that is obviously Canada is one of the safest countries in the world to put your money into real estate. A lot of people, especially when they're new in Canada, they're used to getting huge returns on their investments, like 20%, 30%, and they complain about how low the return on investments are in Canada, not realizing that this is a very sturdy economy. I know it's got its up and down, but you can't compare it to some countries around the world where what is actually happening, they lose the value on their money. So their money is getting weaker week after week and month after month, and they think that they are getting rich, but it is really not the case. Now, next question is from Robert, is asking, how do I pay off my mortgage down faster than what I am right now? Now, unfortunately, because of the interest rates that went up so ridiculously in the last year and a half or so, normally in the past we have had amortization of 25 to 30 years. In some cases, I've heard that they have doubled those years and even tripled. I was talking to this lady a few days ago, She said that the way I see my mortgage right now, even my grandchildren are still going to be paying for this mortgage on a 2-bedroom condo, like not a downtown, like a Four Season type of apartment, and it's really bad. But anyways, in most cases, at least in the major 5 banks that we have in Canada, depending on how hard they want to compete, they have options where you can pay off your mortgage. You can either pay, they call it 10 and 10 or 20-20. What that means is you can add 10% to your monthly payment, or pay 10% lump sum each calendar year to reduce your mortgage and pay it off much faster. Of course, that doesn't make a difference in your monthly payment, but you just reach the final destination a lot faster. Next question is from Masood. He's asking, I'm looking to buy an investment in real estate. What do you recommend? Now, Masood, thank you for your question, and it is a great question. Let me just give you a little background on that. I've done both commercial and luxury residential real estate, and I've been involved with a lot of investment properties. I think one of the most important issues for a real estate investor to take into consideration is that that investment should match the investor's personalities and mentality and the way he or she thinks. For instance, if a guy he's always been involved with land and he enjoys being a landowner, that is a great investment. But it may not be for me, because I buy a piece of land and I say, well, okay, now what do I do? Okay, do I have to wait for 30 years, 40 years to reap the fruits from this land that I purchased? My children or grandchildren are going to benefit? In most cases, yes. Now, somebody else will go and buy a fourplex, buy an apartment building. They're in a friends get together, and somebody says, John just bought an apartment building and he's rolling in cash. So he picks up the phone, calls his real estate broker, and say, look, find me an apartment building. Again, if you are the type that you be able to handle an apartment building, that is a fantastic investment, fantastic. But if you get a nervous breakdown when one of your tenants check bounce, or it doesn't clear, or you run into an issue in one of your units in there, you're going to have a panic attack. This may not be the investment for you. So please match your needs and wants with the type of investment that you're taking into consideration. Not every real estate investment is right for that investor. In a lot of cases, obviously when you have an investment property in real estate, the risks are higher than your residential home, and some people can handle the stress from a risk, some cannot. But overall, putting your money in a real estate investment is probably one of the safest investments that you can get involved with. Now, next question is from Alexander. He's asking, how many homes should I see before buying? Now, good question, Alexander. Thank you for this. A lot of people ask about that, or they're concerned about that. How many homes should you see? Well, if you're dealing with an experienced agent, and if you tell him or her what you're looking for in a house, not too many, because this is what they do every day. From dawn to the end of the day, they're looking at homes. They know exactly the type of home that you may be looking for. So be very open with your real estate broker and explain to them what is it that you're looking for. Are you looking for a 4-bedroom? Do you need a to be close to school, to highway, to shopping center? What's your budget? How many bathrooms you need? Do you need a finished basement? Do you have a separate entrance for your basement? Do you like to have a pool, or you don't like a pool? Give him the category, right? And a good experienced agent can come up with the closest matches to your requirements. Now, keep in mind, homes are like a subway. When one leaves, there's another one coming right behind that 5 minutes later, a day later in the home business. So if you're a professional looker, you can look forever, indefinite. But since most people, they have a time frame where they like to buy a house within the next 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, right? You're dealing with the homes that are available in that time frame. And usually it works best if you tell what you're looking for to your agent. Now, before I go to the next question, I just remembered a case that I was dealing with. This gentleman called me, and I went to see him. He had a normal house in Thornhill, and for those of you who live in the GTA, you know what I'm talking about. And lot was like 40 by 110, a rundown looking house. And the very first thing he said to me after answering back when I said hi was, he goes, I'm really a nasty person, talking about himself, and no one likes to work with me. I looked at him and I said, well, let me first hear why you called me here and what do you need. And when I got to know him better, I told him, I said, you know, you're a man of sincerity and straightforward, and probably someone has hurt you in this business that you have such a negative attitude towards real estate brokers or agents. And he told me a story that unfortunately is not uncommon. It happens a lot. His own brother, when he moved to Canada, he sort of made a under the table deal with an agent. I don't know who the agent was, so that if he gives his brother to this agent to buy this home for, he would give him a cut out of the commissions. And later he found that out, and he was so disappointed and turned off as, how can someone do this? Unfortunately, like I said, it happens out there. You go to a family gathering, a friends get together, and you talk about your intentions to sell your property, and suddenly somewhere from the corner say, oh, you know what, I have a friend that you can call, or my cousin or my sister, brother, whoever, that can help you and give you a good deal, whatever. And the moment he or she offers you that, picks up the phone, hey John, I'm going to be sending you a client, he's going to call you, and don't forget my cut. So please be careful. You see, like every other business, we have those that they always look for shortcuts. They always look for inappropriate ways of doing business. But fortunately, we have RECO, Real Estate Council of Ontario, which is like a governing body of the real estate people, that God help you if they call you. I mean, an agent is got to be totally stupid to do something like that, but unfortunately some of them still do. Now, going back to this gentleman's case, he told me what I like. He said, look, back home I'm used to big homes, big land, and I need this. I don't like stairs. I don't like to do this, that. I need 3-car garage. And as he's speaking, I know exactly where that house is, the one that he's looking for. Right after I left his home, I drove to that location that I had in mind, because I knew of a bungalow sitting on a 100-foot lot by 300 feet deep, and knock at the door. And I said, look, I know every agent comes to your door and they ask you, would you list with me, and I have a client, but I really do have a client, and should you be interested in selling your home, all I need is my client to come and see it, and if they like it, we'll present you with an offer. Guess what? I sold that house within 2 days and took them there. He saw the land, he loved it. There was a nice porch in the back. He sat there and he goes, I love this. I sit here, sip on my cup of coffee and look at my land, my trees, and that was the perfect house for him. So, Alexander, how many homes should be shown to you before you decide? It depends on how detailed you as a client are, or that didn't come out very correctly, how detailed clients are as far as explaining their needs to the real estate agents. They can find you probably 5 to 10 homes. Most likely you can find a home that you're looking for. Amir is asking, can you back out of a deal? Yes, you can, but you got to put your conditions in your agreement of purchase and sale, or the offer. What that means is you purchase a house and conditional. You say conditional upon financing, upon inspection, upon my mother-in-law would approve it, conditional upon whatever, right? And if any of those conditions do not meet up with your expectation, then yes, you can back out of the deal by something what we call a mutual release. And occasionally, talking about mutual release, some people assume that by signing a mutual release, the homeowner would automatically have possession over the deposit. No, that is not the case. It's either by mutual agreement or court order, and just make sure that you're aware of these facts, okay? Marianne is asking, is my deposit safe? Thank you, Marianne. Nice question. A lot of people are concerned about this issue, especially those that they're new in Canada. They're coming in, they're buying a house for $2 million, and then they're putting $100,000 deposit. They're saying, just like that, I write you a check for $100,000, and they have a difficult time digesting that. Now, every real estate brokerage has what we call a trust account. All these deposits go to that trust account. It is the safest place it can be. Has there ever been a problem with the trust account? Yes. In my 30 years in this business, I've only heard of one case. One case that the owner of that brokerage, he basically used and abused the money that it was in the trust account. But from all these transactions in the last 30 years, for me personally, I've only seen one case. Now, they need to be audited on a monthly basis. They need to be reported. RECO, Real Estate Council of Ontario, is extremely sensitive to the trust account. And again, it is very stupid of a brokerage to play around with the trust money. Now, in some cases, I've noticed that either the seller or the buyer, they ask for the deposit to be kept at their solicitor's trust account. That usually doesn't work, because real estate brokerages are in a Greenland, sort of in the middle. If the deposit goes to the seller's solicitor's account, buyers say, why them? Should go to mine. If it goes to the buyer's solicitor's account, seller would say, why them? So that's why putting the deposit money kept in the brokerage's trust account probably is one of your safest choice. Rachel is asking, should I buy first or sell before buying? Fantastic question, Rachel. Thank you. There's no written law that what is right and what is wrong on that. But I personally, for myself and my clients, I always recommend sell first before you buy. Now, if you go and buy your new home and you're closing probably in 60 days, 90 days, and the market is right now is reasonably well, suddenly tomorrow morning you wake up, somebody shoot a gun in Persian Gulf, and suddenly you and I are paying $5 a liter for gas, and interest rate go up because there's a problem there, and or a political events happen or economical disaster. You know, you go to sleep at night and in the morning you wake up. I mean, you remember the Black Friday, you remember all these things that we have experienced in the last few years. Suddenly you have committed yourself to a new purchase, you have given them a lump sum of money as a deposit, and you haven't sold your house. So what happens is, first you try to be very optimistic and positive. Yeah, we're going to sell, we're going to do this. Then you start reducing your price, and then you move on, your house is not sold. Then you say, okay, if we don't sell, we would rent it. Wrong move, I don't recommend that. Okay, you're better off selling it than renting it, come back to it later. And then at one point, you end up carrying two houses, you're paying two mortgage, and guess what? The mortgage that you need for your new home is not going to be at normal interest rates. It's going to be, if you're paying 5% at the bank, you got to be paying 10 to 11%, maybe even higher, 12, 13% interest, and it's going to be very, very heavy. So sell before you buy. Worst comes to worst, and if you haven't found a house during time that you close your own house, you go rent a condo or a house temporarily. There are a lot of temporary rentals in the GTA. Take your sweet time till you find the right home. Okay. All right. Now the last question happened to be the most interesting question. Moji, M-O-G-E-E, is asking, what is an open offer? Open offer has been around for a while. They use it in US, in Australia, and if I remember correctly, from April 1st, 23, it kicked in Ontario too. What it means is, those of you that have dealt with buying and selling homes in the past, where there has been multiple offers, no one knows what your competitor is offering the homeowner. So basically, if you're going up or you're adding to your purchase price on a competing offer, you don't know if you should add $5,000 or $25,000. You don't know if you should waive your conditions or go on or reduce your conditions. Open offer means that everything is very transparent, and information or the contents on every offer is in the open, and all the other agents and potential buyers know exactly what they are competing with. Again, this doesn't mean that when it is open offer you can't have conditions or due diligence period or any of these, but what it means is, you know that the other offer that went in before you is offering $20,000 more than you are. So you say, you know what, it's worth it, I'm going to offer $30,000 more, and this way you get the house for yourself. But keep in mind that is not very common right now. It's a very rare situation that people are getting involved with open offers right now, and everybody's waiting, or most people are waiting for the critiques to come up with their feedbacks, to come up with the advantages and disadvantages of the open offer, and they're basically sitting on the fence to hear about other people's experience with it before they get involved with it. And on that comment, thank you very much for your questions. And if you have any other questions, please do call me. There are more questions that I didn't want to take your time for too long. So probably a few days or early next week, I answered a few more of them. And contact me if you need anything specific. You can reach me at 289-234-8800. Or alternatively, you can check out my website at www.sayfi.com. That's SAYFFI.com. And remember, mind at peace is a mind at work.